Good morning to everybody. Magadiko, Baba, Mazimai, Magadiko. Mabukase. Ndamukane Chando. Ameno mvura wa ramba kunaya but Chando Chiripo. But hapana nya in foundations for farming because jibage yenu nukura zwaganaka ndidiga. Tinotenda moari. Computers don't produce sadza. Pastor, it is intimidating to be speaking after you. Thank you so much for that word. It was amazing. And it was very applicable to our times. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the honor and the privilege of allowing me to speak at your conference. Thank you so much, Brian and Matt. I'm humbled and honored at the same time. I am a farmer. I'm fourth generation Zimbabwean. Very proudly so. My wife, Jean, is with me today. Her kumusha, makuva gweru. Kumusha, yeah, gweru. She's a Midlands lady. That's where all the good girls come from, Midlands. But the problem with the Midlands ladies is they labora no dura, because there's lots of Mombes here in Midlands. Here they call us Bamba Zonke. They don't like us shifty shoners because they think that we get everything. But they've got all the nyama. So I'm still trying to pay for her. I was born 1972, Parinatwa. My mother and father come from, or when I was born, we were living in Karoi. We were farming in Karoi. My mother's from Rusape. My father's originally from Glendale. And when I was 5 years old, I think it was 5 years old, we then moved to Malawi. My father won some Grow of the Year and was offered a job in Malawi. We then went to Malawi. And because I was in Malawi, when I went to school, the package that my father was on, the schooling was included. Doesn't matter where you went to school. So he sent me to school in South Africa. I studied, I went to junior school, senior school in South Africa. And if I could just stop there for a moment, my mum and dad, Baba and Nemawang, they're still alive. They live in Harare. And I'm very blessed. I'm the only sibling that is still close to them. I'm the oldest of three. My sister and brother both live abroad. One is an accountant. He got all the brains. The other one is a teacher. She got all the love. And I'm a murimi. I am very, very, very passionate about Zimbabwe. I love farming and I love people, and I have a heart for the people of Zimbabwe. Most of all, and I think this is why I was invited to talk here, I love Jesus Christ with all my heart. And I can honestly tell you today that without him, I don't know where I'd be. I think I might be on the street selling drugs. So I'm very grateful. I gave my life to him when I was 13 years old at Zambezi Ministries, Zambezi Hills. And so I just want to take you back and give you a little bit of a testimony, if that's all right. I was sent to boarding school at 9 years old, and Pastor Ngubet spoke about identity. Now, please understand, I love my mother and my father very much. They are both alive. So if you go back and meet them sometime in the streets, you just tell them how much I love them. You don't tell them all the things that I'm about to tell you. I keep looking because I did invite them today, but I see they haven't come. So I was 9 years old, and I got a tag, dog collar, put it on my neck at the airport with my name and my address, just in case I got lost. My dad shook my hand and he said, "Cheers, but good luck, we'll see you in 3 months' time." Introduces me to the air hostess. In those days you could smoke on the aeroplane and you could drink on the aeroplane, and it was normally quite a rowdy place, the airport and the aeroplane. And I was sent off to school in Natal Midlands. A very good school, no problem whatsoever with the school. My dad definitely at the time was doing the best that he could for me. He certainly felt he was doing the best he could. And that's where the identity or the issue of rejection started. Now, God is such a good, faithful, kind, merciful God that He only reveals things to you as and when He knows that you can handle it. So if you've done your maths, I'm 47, 48 years old, and I'm still being shown issues in my life that I need to deal with. Hence, the topic of fatherhood is so important to me and so important to the nation of Zimbabwe. And I couldn't agree with you more, Pastor, and I thank you so much for your word. I don't want to keep going over what you've already been over, and I don't want to keep repeating what you've already repeated. But I was always taught, when you minister, when you talk, or when you preach from the heart, preach so that I always ask guys who are talking, show me your heart. Don't show me what's in the Bible. I can go home and I can read the Bible. Show me what's in your heart. And from the time that I went to school, and I loved school. Thank God I loved school. But these issues that come into your life very subtly, issues of rejection, issues of, and when you're at boarding school and you come all the way from Malawi, or Zimbabwe for that matter, you're just an immigrant. My nickname was Immigrant Chadwick. He's not really from here, he's not really one of us, he doesn't belong, who is he? The one night I got back to school because we flew from Lilongwe, Joburg, Durban into a bus, 2-hour, 3-hour bus ride to school. I got to school, lights were turned off, everybody was already in the dorms. They had unpacked, and I was so excited to see all my mates, and I was so excited to start the new term. And I got there trying to be as positive as I could because I'd learnt, I'd built up walls, I'd built up survival mechanisms, and I was quite excited. The other guys were trying to sleep now. They had already caught up. I'm trying to catch up. And this one boy, I still remember his name, Chris Smart. We've actually got our 30-year anniversary, and he's coming. He's a big, strong Afrikaans guy. And he said, "Chadwick, keep quiet." And I was a young boy, very excited. I didn't take much notice of it. Kept on playing the fool in the dorm. I said, "Chadwick, I'm not going to tell you again. Shut up. I'm trying to go to sleep." Anyway, I carried on, but by this time I'd unchanged, unpacked, got into bed. And I was talking to a few of my friends next door, and this guy walks up to me and just punches me. Punches me in the nose, and obviously the nose is the worst place to get punched because there's blood all over the place. and blood all over the pillow, blood all over the bed. It looked much worse than it was. It wasn't that sore, to be honest, but it looked quite bad. So anyway, I went through to the Sand Sister, and the Sand Sister saw the mess, came through, saw the mess, and reported us to the headmaster. And the headmaster at the time was actually an ex-Zimbabwean, played cricket with Brian. And the next morning we were marched off to the headmaster, and I thought, gee, I've split on my friend, and now he's going to get beaten, and I'm going to be the baddie, and the terms have started, and this is couldn't have a worse start to the term. Anyway, we were both called into the office, and we were both lashed 4. Both of us, not just him, he and I. So I was quite relieved that I also got lashed, because then it's not like I was the sellout. But it was just that was my introduction to the term. And so as you go through life and you build up these barriers and survival mechanisms, you start forming with unknowingly you develop issues. Weekends, it was a weekly boarding school. Weekends, everyone would go home. I'd be left with the Sand Sister. And fortunately, she was amazing. And my brother's still actually in comms with her now. And fortunately, I had a lot of good friends who would take me home for the weekend. But it was like a roster. Who's taking the immigrant home this weekend? And fortunately, I had some twins, a set of twins, two guys whose family pretty much adopted me and would take me home every weekend. And they made a big effort. And they would say, no, we're taking Chadders home this weekend. No, it's out. Whether it was their turn or not, they would take me home. I actually even had a little room in their house. And when it came time for sport, my friend's father would come and throw cricket balls at me. And if it was rugby, he'd come and throw or kick or whatever with his sons. And fortunately, I was a better sportsman than both the sons. So the father took a lot of pride in saying, we're looking after Chadders, we've got him this weekend, because he's quite a good sportsman. And I'm ever grateful to them. They weren't Christians, they weren't spiritual, but I'm ever grateful. And the time that I had with that family and also other families allowed me to get a perspective of fatherhood from an outsider's point of view. I saw a lot of families. I went to divorced homes. I went to homes where there wasn't a mother or wasn't a father. I went to homes which had a mother and a father who would fight like hang. So I had a really good, at a very young age, I had a very good view of parents and fatherhoods and homes and what was going on in people's homes. But the whole time there was this empty feeling, a deep emptiness and a desire for a father. I was hungry for a father. When I was 13, we went from Malawi to Marandera, Zimbabwe, for a Zamhol's Christian camp. I didn't know what to expect. Scott Marks and Pete Smythe were running it. And it turned out to be the most incredible week of my life. I went there very proud and quite bullish, because I thought it was a sporting camp, to be honest. I didn't realize there was a ministerial. I thought we were just going to go and ski and tube and play whatever sports they've got. And this song that we were singing here this morning was actually the song where God called me and I gave my life to the Lord. And you know what? From that day on, I can honestly tell you that hole in my heart, that gap in my life, that desperation for a father was filled. And the walk of my Christian walk started, and I feel the pain and the suffering that I had experienced made me appreciate God all that more, made me appreciate my father even more, because it wasn't just, my wife's been a Christian her whole life. She's been at home her whole life. She's been a day scholar her whole life. For me, having a father meant so much that I absolutely hung on to it for dear life. The other thing that we are told regularly at school, well, I was told, sorry, I mustn't say we, I was told I was stupid. I was told that I was useless. I was told that I'd never become anything. I was told that I was no good to any human being on this earth. And I'm not saying this to gain your sympathy. I'm just honoring God and testifying that God took me from a place of uselessness, because if you told it enough, you believe it. God took me from a place of stupidity, because if you told it enough, you believe that as well. God took me from a place where I was so desperate for recognition, for acceptance, and for edification, to a place where I just knew that all I need is you, Lord. All I need is you, God. So from there to, I have a beautiful wife, amazing wife. We actually have our 20-year anniversary this year. We have 4 beautiful children, and like Pastor was sharing, you waited 8 years, we waited 5 years. We had a few mishaps in between, but we waited 5 years. When our children eventually came, we were so prepared, in our eyes, so prepared for parenthood. We had read every book. We had watched every movie. We had gone for counseling. We had gone and prayed over our family and broken any curses and broken any bondages and broken any family bondages. And we prayed over this child, not when it was born, when it was in the tummy, when it was a little embryo. This child had been prayed for. And when this little Amy Jean Chadwick was born in 2015 on the 21st of December, our life did a 180. A complete, not a 90 degree or a 30 degree, a full 180 degree turn. And I then realized no book that has ever been written, no ministry, no counsel that has ever been given can prepare you for what you're about to go through. And hence, the journey of fatherhood started. And how exciting the journey has been. And one thing I'll learn, and I just need to say it now, I will never judge a parent, ever. I've been there and I've done that. You know, in our 5 years, we would look at these kids and say, they are so unruly, they are so dirty, they are so uncared for, they are so ill-disciplined, they don't greet, they don't... And then you have your kids, and the next thing, they're behaving like that, and you've got mud all over your face. Sorry, does that mean I've got 5 minutes to go, or I've done 5 minutes? 5 minutes to go. Okay, wow. So, children see God. See from the age of 0 to possibly 5, 7, we are the first model of God that they see. And until they give their life to the Lord, and until they are christened and dedicated and committed to the Lord, that is our responsibility. Yes, we are not perfect. Yes, we will never be perfect. We are not God. But it is our responsibility, or everything that the pastor has spoken to us about, it is our responsibility to bring up the children in the ways of the Lord. It is our responsibility to discipline children. As much as I hate beating and I hate hearing about beating, if you don't discipline and beat a child, you are ruining their life. It is our responsibility to minister to them. It is our responsibility to teach them. It is our responsibility to bring them up. And it is not the responsibility of the schools. It is not the responsibility of anybody else other than ourselves. School. We have amazing schools. We are so blessed with school. But don't rely and depend on schools to bring up and to teach your children. Priorities. I just want to touch briefly on priorities. I haven't got much time, and I've got a video I want to show you, and that video is 5 minutes, so I've already outdone, but you can't stop a video, you can stop me. Priorities of, sorry, I had a whole lot of farming stuff for you, but we're not going to go there. We'll end with this. God, the priorities, the Lord is very clear about priorities. Our priority is God, not the church, not Bible study, not church-related stuff, but God. Number 2, our wife, my wife. She comes ahead of the children, because if things are not right with my wife, then they're not going to be right with the children. And I like to preach this to my wife because she absolutely loves her kids. And I'm a jealous husband. Not jealous of other men, but jealous of time. And with 4 kids, she doesn't have enough time for me. She has lots of time for the children. So God, my wife, excuse me, and then our children and families, and then everything else. Work and friends and everything else that goes with it. That is so important to get right from the beginning. Because if anything there is out of sync, it'll flow down to the children. And briefly, discipline. Discipline is hard, it's painful, it's tough, but the Bible tells us time and time again that God disciplines those children that He loves. God disciplines us because He loves us. We discipline our children because we love them. It's very hard to give a smack and then tell the kids afterwards, I did that because I love you. But it is the truth. And not to discipline out of anger, but to discipline out of love. So I'm not going to have time for the rest. If I can, because I've prepared it, if anybody, just a few words of encouragement for farmers. I've got 10 points here. I'm not going to go. I'll just mention the points. I'm not going to go through everything. But the first point is faith. You cannot farm without faith. It is impossible to please God without faith. The second point is vision. You have to have a vision, otherwise you sway you to and fro like the waves in the ocean. The Lord tells us to write down our vision and to be bold about our vision. Do not share it with people that are not Christians. Do not share it with anyone. Don't throw your pearls to the swine. Ngurui. Pray over it and share it only with the people that are involved in it. Hard work. Determination. James 1 verse 12 says, blessed is the man that perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. Another good verse is Joshua 1 verse 7 to 9. Point 5, obedience. Joshua and Caleb went into the promised land. Everyone else, the other 10 were too scared to go into the promised land. They were obedient despite the fact they were giants, despite the fact they could have lost their life. They were obedient. They were the only two who went in to see the promised land. Point number 6, prayer. Pray, 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 pray. Every morning when you wake up, every evening when you go to sleep. You cannot farm without prayer. Humility. There's no room for arrogance. I don't know about other careers, but I just know in farming, when you get arrogant, the wheels fall off. And you know, when you farm and you've got beautiful crops like this, you can have stunning crops. If you don't pray and pray over your crops and trust and have faith, you can lose that in 30 minutes. I've been sitting with my calculator thinking, thank the Lord, we're going to pay off our loan, we're going to be able to go on a holiday, I can pay for my school fees, and a big cloud can brew up, and within 30 minutes you've had hail and that whole crop is gone. And I'm not saying that only bad people get hail. Anybody can get hail. But humility. There's no room for arrogance. Point number 8. Fair, kind, love. Point number 9. Priorities. We've spoken about it. Point number 10, the last one. Be obedient with your tithes. Tithing. It's the only place in the Bible where the Lord says, test me on this. Test me. Tithe. Be faithful with your tithing. Be honest and be obedient with your tithing. If we may show the video, please. And it's going to back up my brother, Pastor Ngube. I actually wanted to do it straight after you, but it's on fatherhood. Thank you so much.